Hello and welcome to Glen Helen in Southern California for the Monster Energy MXGP of the USA. The first time we came here was back in 1990, where Eric Cabors was a winner in the 500 category. We were back in 91 and 92, where Jean-Michel Bayle was victorious. And then it was almost 20 years before the FIA Motocross World Championship returned to this Southern California venue, where Marvin Musquin was a double moto winner over America's Zach Osborne. The last time we came here was in 2011, where Ken Roczen and Clement de Sal were victorious. But the American fans will be looking for an American winner to stand on the top step of the podium here today. And we are live in Southern California this weekend for these second races. Glad you can join us. Here is where we are in the world. About an hour or so, hour and a half across from LA. Down there, and look at the temperatures, 39 degrees. They said it was going to be around about 37, 38, so a very hot day. Not a lot of wind blowing through the bottom of the valley here in the desert at this Glen Helen Raceway circuit. Riders out on their sighting lap, it seems, at the moment, but if you are joining us for the first time, welcome. We are live here, this 1,700-meter long circuit for American fans who are used to frequenting this venue. That is a look at the first turn, the Talladega first turn. It's a long drag up to that first turn as well. Only the one incident so far today, that was in MXGP Race 1. We'll probably show you highlights of that in a little while. But if you are joining us for the first time here in California and you did miss the first race, well, there were one or two surprises out on track. And let's take a look at some of those highlights right now. MX2 race 1, the gate dropped, and it was Harry Kulas, 151, over on the left-hand side on the Wilvo Nastan Husqvarna factory machine that held a tight line and grabbed the foxhole shot from both the Troy Lee Lucas Oil Red Bull KTMs of the number 17, Shane McElrath and Jesse Nelson. Nelson striking early though, and before long, he was ahead of his teammate and passed Harry Kulas. Also up there was Chris Aldridge. It was a 1-2-3 for the American riders. Geiser there, 243, was in fourth. Kulas, Siwa, and Jonas were next in line. Max Anstey didn't make a great start. He was outside of the top 15 on the opening lap, but was charging hard through the field. Up front, though, all eyes were on the battle here. Tim Geiser, 243 on the Honda Garibaldi, who was running up in fourth place. He lost the front end, picked himself up just ahead of Kulas, Siwa, and Jonas. Remember, he's going for the MX2 world title in this second race that's about to come up live. Paul Jonas did catch him, though. 92, Valentin Guillot, another rider who didn't make a great start on the standing construct Yamaha, started to fight his way through as Paul Jonas all of a sudden decided to take the challenge to the 243 of Tim Geiser. At that stage of the race, Geiser and Jonas were fourth and fifth until Geiser was caught napping. Jonas found a way through, got himself up into fourth position, and it was game on between the two title contenders. A slight mistake maybe cost Jonas a little bit of time, but it was a smart move in the end that saw Geiser get good drive down the start straight, and then he railed the outside first turn, got himself back into fourth position with that pass on Jonas. Jonas stayed there for 2 laps despite his efforts to keep Geiser at bay. There was an almost collision as they headed up Mount St. Helens. Thomas Covington, he fell from 7th position, would eventually remount and get himself back to 12th on the Monster Energy Kawasaki. Harry Kulas got a bit of a second wind. He made a couple of mistakes, but got himself back into 7th place. But in the closing stages, the 41, Red Bull KTM of Paul Jonas hit the wall. Valentin Guillot went through. And then he found himself down in 5th, and then eventually down in 6th, and then down in 10th place for Paul Jonas. Max Anstey was on a charge in the second half of the race as he pushed on. Jonas really had no answers. That was Harry Kulas going through to take 7th position away. Jeremy Siwa, Julian Lieber all went through as well. But it was the 79 of Jesse Nelson who crossed the line victorious in race 1. Chris Aldridge second, and Shane McElrath was third.
MX2 title. However, we're going to be talking to, Tom is going to be interviewing the winner of the Glen Helen round.
So down on the grid then, live images at Glen Helen for the Monster Energy MX2 Grand Prix of the USA. Don't forget, there is a world title on the line here between Tim Geiser and Pauls Jonas. 22 points separating them. Coming into this final race, it was 18 at the start of the weekend, so Geiser finishing ahead of Pauls Jonas was more than pleased with his efforts, which means that if Geiser was to finish 18th and Jonas were to win this second race, they would tie points, and of course Geiser would be world champion. Anything less than that, of course, then it's Jonas's. So there's still a little bit of work to be done here for Tim Geiser. This is how the riders qualified in the heat race on Saturday. Shane McElrath, Valentin Guillot, Tim Geiser, Harry Kulas, Seward, Nelson, Covington and Petrov. Brian Sue and Chris Aldridge coming home in 10th place.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, the riders are back at the starting gate with about...
So riders then back from the sighting lap. We've got a packed skybox down here. This race, 30 minutes plus 2 laps to go, due to go in just under 3 minutes time. But Jesse Nelson, what a race for him. He didn't make the start, but it wasn't long. It was right at the end of the first lap that he took the lead away from his teammate, Shane McElrath. But he got caught with about 5 or 6 laps to go from the hard-charging Monster Energy Pro Circuit Kawasaki rider, Chris Aldridge. And Aldridge making it a 1-2-3 for the USA riders. Max Anstey, though, he was on a charge in that first race, but the fastest lap belonged to Jesse Nelson, a 2:15.333 on the first lap, but certainly in the closing stages, Max Anstey was lapping a second and a half, 2 seconds a lap quicker than the lead trio of Nelson, Aldridge and McElrath. So Anstey will be looking to get a better start here and try to upset the form book. Well, Adam Wheeler from OnTrackOffroad.com will be joining me in just a moment, and a little later on in the broadcast, Zach Osborne, the Rockstar Energy Husqvarna factory rider who was on the podium here when we came back here in 2010. So it'll be interesting to see what he thinks of the track and the racing so far this weekend. But as you can see, a little bit of water has gone down on circuit. The MX2 riders taking their positions at the gate, and they're getting ready to go racing again on what was a very hot first moto. Hotter for the start of race 2. Live images here then of the MX2 riders taking their positions in the start gate. Ingo Parch, our FIM race director, about to wave us under starters orders here about a minute from the start of this first race. Shane McElrath there, the winner from the qualifying race on Saturday, third in race 1. Adam Wheeler on TrackOffroad.com. A great first race, 1 or 2 surprises in there as well, not least because it was a 1-2-3 for the Americans.
Absolutely, Paul. And what about Max Anstey as well? A terrible start. I think he was one of the last ones going up the hill, but managed to come through and take 4th place by something like 9/100ths of a second past Valentin Guillot. So
I think it was less than that. It was 0.2 of a second. It was ridiculous.
Well, I mean, it was, you know, it was dominance by the Americans, but, you know, coming through the pack. And obviously we still got this MX2 World Championship story. After 35 races, you know, it's come down to the last one in the United States, which is what we kind of like to see, isn't it?
Yeah, just looking at the graphic there, it is 22 points behind, between Tim Geiser and Pauls Jonas, 5.71 and 5.49. If Geiser just finishes ahead of Jonas, it's all over. But if there's a DNF from Tim Geiser, then obviously, you know, he would need to win the race with Pauls Jonas to be world champion.
And no Julian Lieber in the gate. Injured right hip, he's not starting the second moto. Also for Team Belgium, some problems perhaps.
Here we go. Gate about to drop here, MX2 race 2. The Monster Energy MX2 GP of the USA gets underway. Seward trying to duck behind, but that fast Monster Energy Kawasaki of Covington not quite strong enough. It's one of the Troy Lee Lucas Oil's Red Bull KTMs. Is it the
Nelson?
79? Yes, it is. It's Nelson. Covington up the inside, and is that McElrath around the outside again? So once again, the 2 KTMs An American 1, 2, 3, this time 4 with Aldridge there in 4th position. Geiser up the inside in 5th place. So he's already ahead of Paul Jonas. Where is Jonas? Around about 7th or 8th place as he crawled around the right-hander at the top of the hill there.
Close between the Kawasaki's and the bottom of the hill. Oh.
2 Kawasaki's go down. That was Aldridge and Covington. So 2 Americans out, and also Brian Sue there, I think. Oh, no. Is it Brian Sue? Oh, Bas Vassen, 98. So 2 Americans parked in the bottom corner, Covington and Chris Aldridge. Aldridge finishing 2nd in the first race. Not sure what happened there, but it's Nelson who leads just like he did in race 1. Geiser has got one thing on his mind here, Adam Wheeler, and that's winning the FIM MX2 Motocross World Championship. He's well placed at the moment in 3rd place. Jonas around about 7th or 8th place as he came down the hill for the first time.
Just to give people an overview of what's required here, Tim Geiser just has to basically finish this moto. Paul Jonas has to win. Tim Geiser, goodness, 22 points behind. Basically has to DNF or finish down in 18th or 19th, I believe. Yeah, 18th would secure it, because that would give him the 3 points needed, because obviously 22, 25 up for a win. So that's how close we're talking, but did himself plenty of favours, didn't he, Tim Geiser in race 1 by coming home ahead of Paul Jonas. And here he is going right for the jugular, trying to put some distance between himself and Jonas very, very early on. And I tell you what, here's another thing. 2 KTMs ahead of Tim Geiser. Of course, they're all Red Bull backed, aren't they? These guys here leading the way, Nelson and McElrath. Oh.
Yeah, nicely done there. Is he going to be ahead of him over the line? Oh, nice synchronized whipping there from these guys, but going to go to the outside here. Geiser's going to have no choice. But you wonder how much team tactics, teamwork is going to come into play here from the amount of KTMs that are out on track. Certainly 2 of them ahead of Tim Geiser here. Jesse Nelson looking like he's not interested. He's just disappearing at the head of the field. But
yeah, nice battle here. Yep, the 2nd place. He took pole position yesterday. Yeah, he might look to try and fend off the Honda. Definitely riding a very wide KTM there, isn't he? Around the outside.
Looking to dive down the inside here. Geiser thinking the better of it is probably already decided, you know what, these guys don't want to play by the rules.
It's a little rougher on that first turn. Going to the inside is something you really want as a defensive rather than an attacking move, isn't it?
Yeah, there's some gnarly square edge bumps up there as well. So at the end of the first lap then, Nelson leads the way. McElrath 2nd, Geiser 3rd, Gio 4th, Siwa 5th. Jonas is in 6th place. There he is, just going through. He's found his way past Siwa, so he's up in the 5th place actually. Kulas is in 7th, Van Donnick 8th, Flandre 9th, and Bernardini 10. Anstey down in 18th place, so not another good start for Max Anstey. And the Americans, Covington and Aldridge, down in 20th and 21st position, so not a good opening lap. They crashed at the bottom of the hill on the opening lap. So Jesse Nelson, though, he is about 1.5 seconds clear of his teammate McElrath. Tim Geiser is in 3rd. Tim Geiser going after Shane McElrath. He's got Valentin Gio, who was fast in the first race. He brought Max Anstey through with him, didn't he, Adam Wheeler? And he's got a better start this time around, and he's already looking at Geiser, sizing him up for 3rd place.
And it's good to see, you know, Valentin go back to the sort of speed we saw early in the season. Paul Gio had big crashes in the Grand Prix of Belgium, more so in the Netherlands. You know, basically dropped out of World Championship contention through those accidents. But this is the rider we remember from Spain, from Great Britain. Somebody very attacking, taking kind of risks and just looking spectacular on the bike. There's Paul Jonas. Seemed to suffer more in the heat, didn't he? Dropped back to 11th place or something in the first moto?
Yeah, but there was a period there during the first race where he was up there and then suddenly lost 5 seconds in the space of a lap. So maybe just a simple slip. I can't imagine him losing 5 just because he hit the wall, because he tried hanging it out there. He did rectify that mistake, but by then everybody else was on top of him and attacking him. And we're talking, you know, Valentin Gio, Max Anstey, Jeremy Siwa, Harry Kulas, all eventually found a way through. So too did Julian Lieber. So it was a tough second half of the race for Paul Jonas, and he's got Jeremy Siwa breathing down his neck and Harry Kulas once again. Oh, back end just getting a little bit loose on Paul Jonas as he comes out of that left-hander, the final straight before rejoining at the start straight area.
For all like the competitive mindset, Paul Jonas has got to remember that this has been an astonishing first season for him as a factory rider.
That outside line at turn 2 is definitely working better than it was in race 1, and Jesse Nelson really using it to his advantage. His teammate McElrath behind him, but fastest by about 0.6 of a second. Jesse Nelson, a 2 minute and 08, he's 2 seconds clear of his teammate, that 2:17 lap time just a moment ago. 7 seconds slower than they were yesterday in the first laps of free practice. So it just gives you some indication as to how this track has slowed down over the course of the weekend. Deep ruts like this, gnarly square edge bumps, and also this time of day the sun is going to be playing right into the riders' eyes as they head up Mount St. Helens. So lots of things for these guys to think about.
The prep has been good, you know. The ruts aren't particularly massively deep, but you know they are rougher than yesterday. It has got a slightly more technical, and you can see riders taking different lines and making time, which wasn't the case on Saturday.
Well, Jesse Nelson leading the way once again on the Troy Lee Designs Lucas Oil Red Bull KTM, and looking pretty comfortable at the moment, has to be said, doing just enough to stay ahead of his teammate. Just under 24 minutes to go here, plus 2 laps in MX2 Race 1. We're live at the Monster Energy MXGP of the USA, and the number 79 Jesse Nelson on the Troy Lee Designs Lucas Oil Red Bull KTM leads the way by more than 2 seconds over this guy here, his teammate Shane McElrath. Both guys circulating in the 2:17s, the fastest 2 riders on track, but it's Nelson who set the fastest lap last time around. And he sets the fastest lap again, a 2:16.1, puts himself 3 seconds clear now of his teammate. Tim Geiser, who's going for the FIM MX2 Motocross World Championship. Here he is, 2:43 on the Garibaldi Honda. He's in 3rd place ahead of the standing construct Yamaha, the guy behind him in blue, Valentin Guillot of Switzerland. Then Jonas back there in 5th place, and Adam Wheeler on trackoffroad.com. The championship for Pauls Jonas is now starting to slip away, isn't it? Because he would need to win this race if Geiser were to go out at this stage of the race.
That's right. It's, like you say, Paul, there's a big time difference now for the Latvian to make up. You know, Tim Geiser in comparison is going to be riding the longest motor of his career, of his short career, his life. He's a replay at the start. This was Sewer on the Suzuki get a fantastic jump. As he hooked the gears, though, those KTMs just towards the bottom of the picture there.
Yeah, and they were split by the Husqvarna of Harry Kulas in white, but it was Jesse Nelson, 79, who just kept it in there the longest. Back end got a little bit loose on him, though, as he went through that first corner, but it was he who grabbed the foxhole shot. Back with Jesse Nelson. Just over 22 minutes to go. That gap still around about 2-3 seconds. Oh, back end getting a little bit of a kick there at the top of the hill.
Just going back to Tim Geiser for a moment there, his father, Bogo, who trains him as well, you know, very tight unit inside the HRC Garibaldi team. You know, he was grabbing him by the helmet just before the first moto, and I don't understand Slovenian, but there was basically a gist of like, take it easy, take it easy, take it easy. You don't need to do anything, don't take any risks whatsoever. Just get out there and ride. So,
because there was a period during the first race when he was starting to mix it, wasn't he, with Pauls Jonas, and obviously when he made the mistake at the bottom of the hill, he found himself back in a battle with Kulas and Sewer and Guillot, and you just thought, Tim, just stay out of trouble. And that's exactly what he did. It was Jonas who hit the wall in the end.
I mean, Jonas, like we said, has had a fantastic first season, and you know, first full year in Grand Prix. I mean, he's set to finish 2nd in the world. I don't think you can knock that at all. More importantly, he's been there. He's been in the races. He's got the points. He's learned a lot of lessons, you know, right at the sharp end of the class, Paul. But Geiser with 5 Grand Prix victories, you have to say he's the most deserved champion if he can make it. Here's Sewer on the attack.
Yeah, on the attack, chasing down the 41 of Pauls Jonas, still a championship contender, don't forget. But with Geiser ahead of him in 3rd place, that gap's still too much to make up. We already spelled out the implications. But with 21 minutes plus 2 to go, Jesse Nelson again sets the fastest lap. We've had 3 laps complete, a 2:15.965 compared to his teammate, a 2:17.074. He's now more than 4 seconds clear of Shane McElrath. Geiser is 3rd, Guillot 4th, Jonas Sewer. That's his battle here, fighting over 5th.
And Jeremy Sewer, Paul, probably riding without any pressure, confirmed 5th place in the World Championship, which was his goal pre-season. So just looking to enjoy the last race, the last Grand Prix moto of the season. He's going to be riding for his country, of course, next week in Ernée in France.
Yeah, the Monster Energy Motocross of Nations on the horizon in a week's time. Of course, we will be live there as well. But Harry Kulas just behind these 2 riders on the Wilvo Nastan factory Husqvarna. He's in 7th place. Calvin Vallanderen is 8th. 9th is Samuel Bernardini on the factory TM, and in 10th place is Benoit Paturel on the Khmer Yamaha Yamalube machine. Ivo Monticelli is 11th on the Marchetti Racing Team KTM. Petr Petrov on the Monster Energy Kawasaki is 12th ahead of Max Anstiaza. A mistake there from Geiser, a massive mistake at the bottom of the hill. Got it completely wrong, and Valentin Guillot, well, he didn't need any invitations to go through into 3rd position. So Gio then, just catch this again, this replay. Geiser comes out of the bottom corner, gets on the gas, and then he was legging his way, caught the high end of the ridge of the berm there, lost all drive and all momentum, and Gio up to third. Zach Osborne joins me from Rockstar Energy Husqvarna Factory Racing. Zach Osborne, you're on the podium here in 2010. You know, the first American in a while to make the podium at a USGP, but how does it feel to be back here? I know you're not racing, but what do you think of the organisation here? What do you think of the track? What do you think of the racing in MX2, more importantly?
It's been great so far. I'm glad to be here and see some old faces from my GP career. I think the turnout's really positive compared to the GPs that they've had here before as far as fans go, and there's been some great racing in both classes all day.
Jesse Nelson, Shane McElrath, and obviously in the first race it was Aldridge as well, wasn't it? Chris Aldridge, who were the first three American riders rounding out the top 3 positions. Pretty impressive from the homeboys.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, these guys, especially those 3 guys, ride this track a couple times a week, so I mean, these guys the Euros are a little bit of a disadvantage, but that's part of it. They came to their turf, and I mean, so far it's been pretty good, though.
I mean, we're talking almost 40 degrees outside track temperature at the moment as well, aren't we? Air temperature. These guys seeming to deal with it very, very well. Jesse Nelson, Shane McElrath, of course. The Europeans, as you know, don't have anything close to 30 degrees, let alone 40 degrees.
Yeah, I mean, a 30-degree GP would be your Spanish or your Portuguese GP each year. That's the 2 that would be hot. So, yeah, they're definitely not used to the heat, but that's part of it.
Well, Jesse Nelson is leading the way at the moment, 5.5 seconds clear of his teammate Shane McElrath. Of course, these 2 teammates on the Troy Lee Design Lucas Oil Red Bull KTMs. Here is your leader, Jesse Nelson, at the bottom of the hill. Valentin Gio is still in third, but it's looking good for Tim Geiser on the Honda Garibaldi, though, as he moves closer to that world crown. Dropping down Mount St. Helens, Zach Osborne still with me. What do you think of the performance of this guy here, Jesse Nelson?
Pretty impressive. I mean, he had a little bit of a rough outdoor season. He added some flashes of brilliance, but nothing like this. A 1-1 today would be pretty big.
It would be, and just looking at the table over there, McElrath would be second with a 3-2. Gio would be third overall with, a 5-3. So he was disappointed to have got pipped at the finish line by Max Anstey in the first race. Anstey on the charge yet again, though. He is now up to 11th, having started the lap in 13th. So he's now going after Petrov and Pat Chirel, 2 guys ahead of him. But Tim Geiser, former European champion in the 125 class, former 85 European champ, former 125 junior world champ. Obviously had a good qualifying race yesterday when Jonas's bike expired, so already in a good frame of mind coming into the first race.
Yeah, I was a little worried for him there a few races ago. He seemed to be succumbing to the pressure a little bit. Pauls was riding good, and he was just getting 5th and 6th, and it started to close up there, but now I think he's turned it around. He has a good support system with his dad and family always so close to him, so I think he's, you know, already got one hand on the championship right now, especially with the situation with the American guys running out front.
Paul Jonas, just as we said earlier in the broadcast, seemed to have hit the wall in the first race, whether it was because he made a mistake, but he did the hard work. He got onto the rear wheel of guys that passed him, but then got passed back. I wonder if some of that was a psychological thing. You know, you do all that hard work, you pass him, you throw everything at the table, you find a way past the championship leader, and then he comes right back at you, and you kind of go, I don't have any more.
Yeah, it happens. I mean, the heat out there right now is gnarly. I always tell people, like, when you start to feel your feet get hot, I don't know why that's the first thing that gets really, really hot on you, but when your feet get hot, you're pretty much in for it, and maybe he had hot feet.
Is that how they look at it over in the US?
I guess so.
Well, Paul Jonas can't do any more than he's doing, it seems. He's 6 seconds down on Tim Geiser, his closest rival for the championship. Of course, the championship leader. He's 22 points behind at the start of the race. Only 25 points up for the win here. So you do the maths. Here's Max Anstey, number 99, Monster Energy DRT Kawasaki, looking to find his way past Monticelli. Battle for 10th. Just over 15 minutes plus 2 laps to go in this second MX2 race here, the Monster Energy MXGP of the USA. The MX2 riders out on track for their second race of the day. Max Anstey, once again, number 99, having a hard charge through the field. That's him on the right-hand side, third rider in shot, going after The 128 of Monticelli, who's snuck neatly down the inside of Samuele Bernardini, but not for long. The TM outpowering the KTM at the top of the hill. Anstey got both riders in his sights, so Anstey number 99 in 11th place. But it's still Jesse Nelson leading the way, 6 seconds clear now of his teammate Shane McElrath. Valentin Guillot is third. Geiser, the world champion-elect, is in fourth, ahead of his closest rival, Pauls Jonas, but he will not be able to win it from there. Zach Osborne, Rockstar Energy, Husqvarna Factory Racing, still here with me. Max Anstey doing it the hard way this weekend.
Yeah, I expected big things out of Max this weekend. He lived here in California for quite a few years and when he was younger, and he was fast in the first moto, just bad starts. Yeah, 2 terrible starts.
Well, these 2 riders ahead of Max Anstey, 99, tripping themselves up. The 2 Italians, Bernardini and the 128 of Monticelli, as Calvin Valandron going down, coming out of that right-hander at the top of the hill. So he's found his way past Monticelli, Bernardini and Valandron, after the South African rider getting the brunt of it going down the hill. Monticelli and Bernardini still tearing strips off of each other, but Max Anstey wasting no time finding his way past those guys and getting himself into 8th position on that lap. There he is, already disappearing out of sight. Benoit Paturel just behind him, number 6 on the Khmer Yamaha. He was 12th at the start of the lap, but he had a big crash in qualifying yesterday over the Monster Energy triple jump over the far side of the circuit, and it looks like he's alongside Bernardini and will take 10th position with that simple move through the right-hander. How do you think the track's holding up, Zach? Because you know, it's like when we ride World Championships, when we're over at the, on the European legs of the tour. Lots of European Championship action, which we don't have here. No support races. So the track about as rough, or is it smoother than you thought it was going to be? What are your thoughts?
For the National, they rip it a little bit deeper and maybe a little more water. It's the end of summer here in California. It's known to be dry, so I mean, it's okay. It's pretty square edge and pretty gnarly, but it's pretty typical for this late in the summer at this track.
Is there a reason why you're not racing this weekend?
No real reason.
No?
I would have had to ride MX1, and there wasn't a whole lot of time to get ready, so I just decided to take it easy.
And plans for next year for you? What are you doing? Staying with the same team?
Yep, same team, same series, Supercross and outdoors, and we had a decent year this year with a 3rd in the Supercross Championship and a 4th in the Outdoor Championship. So look forward to improve that next year with my Rockstar Energy Husqvarna racing team, and it should be good.
And Husqvarna very much in the ascendancy, aren't they? You know, KTM at the turn of the century were the team to beat, and they've racked up world title after world title, and Husqvarna pretty much hitting the ground running, and they're getting results pretty quickly, aren't they, for a new team, a new manufacturer?
Yeah, we have a great program. And
Covington down again.
Covington down again. We have a great program, and I think just the results prove that in both sides of the world, and I'm glad and very thankful to have the opportunity to ride for such a company.
This is just at the bottom of the hill footbridge, so Covington just getting it completely wrong, tipping over the rut at the bottom of the hill. FIM Race Direction might look at that, riding down the track backwards. I know it's a rule in the US. It's difficult, isn't it, to sort of judge that one.
It's almost impossible to turn straight back up that hill and go anywhere, really. So hopefully he's okay.
Well, 11.5 minutes plus 2 laps to go. Here is your potential world champion. The 243, Tim Geiser, Honda Garibaldi. Here is Jonas, the 41. He'll take 2nd in the championship, and he's still being pushed all the way by Jeremy Sewa, who Adam Wheeler from On Track Off Road just mentioned a moment ago. Nailed on 5th place in the championship now for him, behind Valentin Guillot and Max Anstey, who has secured 3rd after race 1. But with 11 minutes to go, Nelson almost 8 seconds clear of his teammate, Shane McElrath. Guillot is 3rd, Geiser 4th. Jonas still pushing on, still believes he can win the title, but he's down there in 5th. Jeremy Sewa on the Suzuki. Another rider that has impressed us over the last couple of years, 2nd in the European 250 Championship behind Valentin Guillot. Both riders' debut appearance last year in MX2, and here they are, both finishing top 5 in the MX2 World Championship. Dropping down Mount St. Helens again, just under 10.5 minutes plus 2 laps to go. Max Anstey up into 8th position, Kulas 7th. But these 2 riders here, the yellow Rockstar Energy Suzuki Europe machine of Jeremy Sewa on the 91, going after 41. Pauls Jonas, Red Bull KTM Factory Racing. Had a tough first race when he looked to find his way past Tim Geiser. But Zach Osborne, that is one of the advantages, isn't it? Having you know, a decent points lead coming into the final race, or maybe even the final round of the championship. It was 18 at the start of the day. It was 22 after the first race. And Jeremy Seawer, will he find his way through here? No, he's made to wait. But the pressure off in that respect, isn't it?
Yeah, it takes a huge weight off. I mean, it could have been a completely different situation had Jonas not had that huge crash last weekend, but at the same time, he could not be here this weekend due to injury. That was a huge crash, and he was really lucky to walk away from it. I mean, with the 22-point lead or 18-point lead going into the last round and the 22-point lead going into the last moto, it's hard to mess that up, really.
And he had a similar crash, didn't he, in Uddevalla in Sweden earlier on in the year. You know, he's had some lucky escapes, Paul Jonas, but at the start of the year, he wasn't expected to be running podium contention. Maybe towards the end of the year, okay, maybe the odd moto finish, maybe top fives and that kind of thing. And if you get a podium, yeah, great. But to be coming in and doing what he's done already is already way ahead of everything that he and Red Bull KTM would have expected, I'm sure. Back with that battle. The number 41, Paul Jonas and Jeremy Seawer, still arguing over 5th place. If you were to put your money down now, Zach Osborne, who would you put your money on? Jonas or Seawer in this position?
Jonas seems to just be having an off day, or maybe just thinking too much about the championship. So, and Seawer seems to be on the charge, so I'd have to go with Seawer.
And I guess also some of it may be, like say, the big crash that he had at the start of race 2 a week ago at the MXGP of Leon in Mexico, where he got to within 4 points of Tim Geiser after the win in the first race, and Geiser's mistake in that race. But, you know, he gave himself a lot of work to do, didn't he, after that crash coming in this weekend?
Yeah, I mean, an impact of that nature can take more out of your body than what you really realize at the moment.
8 minutes plus 2 laps to go in this second MX2 race here. It's the Monster Energy MXGP of the USA. We're at Glen Helen in Southern California, and we are live with me, Paul Malin, and Zach Osborne, Rockstar Energy, Husqvarna Factory Racing. Just had no time to get ready, would have had to have ridden it in the MXGP class this weekend, but Zach Osborne, Jesse Nelson, 8.2 seconds clear. That's him here, our race leader, of his teammate, Shane McElrath. And these guys really putting on a display, haven't they? And it's going to be an American 1-2 on the top step of the podium in the overall classification.
Yeah, it's pretty big for these guys. I mean, it's awesome for Americans to win GPs, period. Especially like Covington did last weekend in Mexico. It's a great feeling to hear our anthem played in a foreign country. Obviously,
you won a Grand Prix as well yourself, back with Steve Dixon's Yamaha team. You know what it's like to stand on the top step?
Yeah, I was in a really foreign land in Turkey, but it's a feeling that I'll never forget.
Obviously, Ryan Villapoto started the year, didn't he, in MXGP for Monster Energy Kawasaki. Lasted the 4 rounds, won a Grand Prix in Thailand. But when we got to Italy, the GP in Trentino, obviously we saw what happened there, crashed himself out of the season. What are your thoughts on the brief spell that he had there? Because you know from first hand, doing a few seasons in the championship, it's not easy, is it, to try and impress over in Europe and you know, the flyway races that we have?
It's not an easy adjustment. It's a big ask for just a 1-year contract like he was doing. I think he did a good job just to win 1 GP, and I think he would have been there in the end for the long haul, especially with the injuries that the other guys have had. But that's how it is. I mean, Fevre has been the strongest guy for quite a few GPs now since his win in Majora. I mean, I think that was like a big turning point for him whenever he came back with the broken or the really bent bars and almost won the GP. So he's been strong since then.
Just looking at our race leader Jesse Nelson and his teammate here, Shane McElrath. We say a 1-2 for the American riders, Jesse Nelson and Shane McElrath. 50 points on the board, 2 maximum scores for Nelson, and a 3-2 finish for this guy here, Shane McElrath. If he brings it home, he's kind of East Coast, isn't he?
Yeah, he's East Coast. I've seen this guy grow up, and it's cool to see him do well here. He's been in California for a few years now, and he knows this track pretty good. He's fast on Thursdays when they have practice here.
Troy Lee always seemed to turn out a decent bike. They were Hondas in the past, KTMs now, and they get them things dialed, don't they?
Yep, for sure. Shane's a hard worker and one of the more deserving guys in the paddock.
And we're talking to Tyler Rattray yesterday in the post-qualifying race press conference. Going to be working with him next year.
Yeah, I just heard about that. I didn't know. Oh, big battle.
Yeah, Jonas still coming under attack from Jeremy Seawer. doing his best to hang on. Oh, Seaward nicely up the inside. Well, Jonas now just going through the motions, less than 5 minutes plus 2 laps to go, and obviously those 2 laps, it's 2:18, 2:20 lap times for these guys now, so, you know, a considerable amount of time still, almost 5 minutes on top of the, you know, the time added on. So, you know, it's still a ways to go. And temperatures, Zach, 40 degrees almost, you know, 38, 39 degrees. It's hot out there, not a lot of wind, is there?
Yeah, there's not much moving. It's pretty dead, and there's no shade. It's a tough conditions out there for sure. I mean, I remember the last time whenever we did the GP here, it was still 35-minute motos, and the track was like a little over 3 minutes, I believe. And so our motos were like 43 minutes long, and that today would not be a good combo.
Definitely not. But the organisers here, Bud Feldkamp and everybody at Glen Helen Raceway, doing a great job in putting this race on. Not easy to arrange, you know, logistically. You've got the American riders, of course. Outdoor season finished a few weeks ago. Some of the guys are getting ready for the Motocross of Nations, some getting ready for the Monster Energy Cup. You know, I think in all fairness, we've got a good turnout in terms of American talent coming here this weekend, and obviously they're putting on a good display for the fans, aren't they?
Yeah, I agree 100%. I mean, I'm pumped to see some guys come out. I'm a little bummed on myself for not being out there just because of my GP background, but it's just a really transitional period of the year for us, especially for us Husqvarna guys with the new bike for next year, and everyone just trying to get ready for the Monster Cup. It's tough to just kind of pull up all those plans and just focus on this GP, because obviously we want to do really well and not just come out half-cocked. So it's a tough time, but yeah, I wish I was out there actually.
Well, we're looking at Tim Geiser here. He's in 4th position at the moment and on course for collecting his first FIM MX2 Motocross World Championship. Just under 3 minutes to go then, and Tim Geiser, well, he's done everything right, hasn't he, Zach Osborne? He's got good starts, he's put himself in pole position, as it were, in terms of being ahead of his rival, Paul Jonas, and it's really starting to pay off here, and, you know, he is, dare we say it, got one hand on the World Championship crown.
Yeah, for sure. I don't think there were many people who would have put much money on him winning the world title this year, just not because of his lack of, but just because he just wasn't a favorite at the beginning of the season. But has there ever been a Slovenian world champion?
Nope.
No.
In so MX3, which is now defunct,
yeah.
And you know, in terms of, you know, where it's at, MX2
yeah.
and MXGP, so he will be the first, you know, world champion crown from Slovenia. And but we've seen it at the European Championship now, you know, obviously with Youthstream and how MXGP operate in Europe and in the World Championship, of course, you know, the development of the 85cc World Championship and the 125 European, 250 European Championship. There is a very prevalent stepping stone, isn't there, in terms of getting these guys racing the same circuits as the MX2, MXGP riders, and they get used to riding in front of the crowds, riding those tracks, riding the same bikes, because they're kind of in the feeder teams, and he is now a product of that kind of system. Yeah,
he was just, I think, first year in the European 125, my last year there, so it's been quite a quick turnaround for him, and I think the whole European system and series is really, really good, and it puts those guys in the eyes of the teams, and really just gives them a better, like you said, a better feeder system into rides and into GPs.
Obviously, again, we're looking at Jesse Nelson, just over 7 seconds clear of his teammate, Shane McElrath. But in terms of you, is it something you would consider doing, a return to the World Championship?
Yeah, of course. I obviously have to ride MX1 now because I'm too old for MX2. But yeah, of course, I would entertain the idea, and I would actually like it.
How old are you now?
I'll be 26 next Friday.
So still loads of time.
I guess.
Shane McElrath. He's there in 2nd position, but what an impressive performance, debut performance for the 2 Troy League Design Lucas Oil Red Bull KTMs of Jesse Nelson and Shane McElrath there. 1st and 2nd in this race. That's going to guarantee them 1st and 2nd overall on the podium. The Star Spangled Banner will be blaring out over the sound system here, and there'll be a real feel-good factor amongst the American fans here that have come out to watch this race here, because that's what they wanted, isn't it, at the end of the day?
Yeah, I believe
victory.
So. I mean, if anything, it'll maybe boost the attendance for next year.
So time just up. The leader's already through, 12 laps complete, so we are going to be 3 laps to go here in the final race of the year in the FIM MX2 Motocross World Championship. We're live at Glen Helen in Southern California. It is the Monster Energy MXGP of the USA. And Jesse Nelson still leading over Shane McElrath and Valentin Guillot. Tim Geiser on course to be world champion in 4th. Just picking his lines absolutely perfectly. Jesse Nelson at the top of the hill. Didn't have a great qualifying race yesterday. Didn't make the best start. Settled, what, 6th, 7th position, something like that. So one or two people thinking, has he got what it takes today? But he's definitely come out, you know, firing on all 4 cylinders, hasn't he, Zach? And he's made everybody else look pretty ordinary today.
Yeah, I was a little surprised with that. Shane rode really well in the qualifying race yesterday, and Jesse didn't look, you know, that spectacular. But I think a lot of these guys, well, the American guys anyways, were worried about the 2-day format. You know, here in America, we only race the 1-day Saturday Nationals. So I think everyone was kind of like, hey, pump the brakes. You know, it's just for gate pick tomorrow, and especially with this start, it's not your typical MXGP start where it goes straight from the inside pretty much 90% of the time. It's a very fair start, and I think no one was too worried about the gate pick, so they didn't put a whole lot into it.
You can hear the fans just out there just coming through our headsets. I guess you can through the TV sets at home for Jesse Nelson. He'll come out of this final corner now over the Camelback and hit the Monster Energy finish line to take the 2-lap board this time around. He's around about 8 seconds clear of his teammate Shane McElrath. Here's Valentin Guillot about 19, 20 seconds further back on the standing construct Yamaha. And Tim Geiser on the Honda Garibaldi machine on course to wrapping up his first FIM MX2 Motocross World Championship. And ironically, Honda have never won in the 4-stroke era, and they haven't had a World Championship since Alessandro Puzar in the 125 class, which now this championship effectively is. They've had a world champion in the form of Frederic Bollet, 99 and 2000 in MXGP, and what was then 250 in the old school. But for the small class, the lights class, the last crown for Honda was 125's Alessandro Puzar back in 1995. So very, very much overdue, and also has a lot to be said for the dominance of KTM over that period of time as well.
Yeah, for sure. They've had a tough year with injuries, with Jeffrey getting hurt, and just seems like Jonas has lost a little bit of fire here at the end, maybe due to the crash last weekend. But yeah, it's been a tough season for KTM.
But we talk about the injuries and the crashes of Paul Jonas or the injuries to Hurlings. But let's not forget, Tim Geiser crashed himself out of the qualifying race at Valkenswaard in the Netherlands, round 4, and then he didn't start the British Grand Prix at Matterley Basin because he rang his bell in qualifying as well and wasn't feeling good. So he's missed races and he's had crashes as well, but he's done a good job of getting himself back into contention. He was a Grand Prix winner at round 4 in Italy at Trentino, and then he did 3 in a row when we went to Majora, Teufenthal in Germany, Uddevalla in Sweden, and then 2 rounds ago in the deep sand of Assen at the very rough circuit.
I feel like that was a big surprise for everyone because he didn't really have that great of sand results previously, and just came at the right time, I guess.
So 5 Grand Prix victories on the cards for Tim Geiser, and again, USA versus America, we can come here and we can sort of like bench race all day long, can't we? Jesse Nelson has come here to win. He's doing that. He's right on cue. 2 wins out of 2. It's going to be for him. He's got just over a lap to go because he's 2 corners away from the Monster Energy finish line here. But Tim Geiser, when you're going for a championship, as long as you do enough to be champion, that's one way of looking at it. Others would like to go for the Grand Prix win, as did Eric Gabors when he won his final Grand Prix here in 1990, which was the final race of the year and his final ever Grand Prix as well. He was already crowned world champion a couple of rounds before in Belgium, but so different mentalities. But Gabors had won 5 at that point. Geiser's going for his first, so you can understand, can't you, maybe his mindset
a little bit. I mean, he's got 1 lap to go. Geiser's Jonas is most likely not going to win this moto unless, it's just not going to happen. No. So why risk it?
Yeah. Well, he's already 15 seconds down on the guy ahead of him. He's more than 30 seconds down on the race leader, so it's not going to happen. So even if Geiser ran out of gas now or whatever else, he's still going to be crowned world champion. But he would still like to cross the line, wouldn't he? 3rd, 4th, 5th, 20th place will be enough for him now because, you know, of where Jonas is in the race in 6th position.
Man, the track is just nasty right now. When it gets that hard look to it, this place is just brutal. Like the top of this hill right here, those square edge holes are just
and the sun
bad.
The qualifying race yesterday, the sun was very, very low, wasn't it, as well? So these guys are going up there, almost putting their head down to cast a little bit of shadow from the visor on the top of the helmet.
It just peaks right across the top, and you can't see anything.
But this guy here is putting a great performance this weekend. Jesse Nelson on the Troy Lee Designs Lucas Oil Red Bull KTM. Pretty much led every single lap of this race. Didn't make the whole shot in either moto, but the first official lap, of course, you need to cross the finish line on 2 occasions to record that. You know, those first laps, he has led every single lap here this weekend, and it doesn't get any more dominant than that. And his teammate here doing a good job. Just got pipped in the final few laps in the first race by Chris Aldridge, but, you know, him and McElrath doing a great job here this weekend for the team and for the American fans.
Shane's the type of guy, it takes him a while to get going, so he can really benefit from this 2-day format. I think sometimes he struggles a little bit to go really, really fast right off the bat at the Nationals because it's only 2 15-minute practices, but here you get a lot more riding time, and I think he's really benefited from that this weekend.
And it might be overshadowed because Tim Geiser about to be crowned world champion. But let's give him credit where it's due. Jesse Nelson crosses the line. He makes it a perfect score, a double moto victory here at the Monster Energy MXGP of the USA here at Glen Helen, Southern California. Shane McElrath comes home in 2nd. Guillaume will cross the line in 3rd. But everybody is going to be pleased for this guy here, Tim Geiser, the Honda Garibaldi rider, just a couple of corners away now from wrapping up the FIM MX2 Motocross World Championship. He was victorious at Trentino, at Mantova, at Teushenthal, Sweden Uddevalla, and the deep sand of Assen. And Tim Geiser will cross the line now as the world champion, MX2 2015. It's all over. He can breathe a sigh of relief now. He will try to get back towards the team area. A couple of corners away from here, down by the start line area, and he will really celebrate. Big sigh of relief there. Valentin Guillaume, the first to congratulate Tim Geiser, the former FIM Junior 125 European champion. And now he wraps it up just a couple of years later with his first MX2 crown. There are some supporters have traveled across from Europe to celebrate with Tim Geiser, but we'll catch up with him in a moment. But Tim Geiser, your FIM MX2 Motocross World Champion 2015, crowned here at Glen Helen. A steady ride back then across the rhythm section, and Tim Geiser will fall into the arms of everybody at Honda, HRC, the senior team that houses Bob Reshef and Paul Ann, and the shirts are already on as Tim Geiser meets the journalists. And it's now become a reality. And one of the first guys in there, I'm sure, Bogomir, his old man. Where is he? Well, he's in there amongst all the flares at the moment, Tim Geiser. There'll be lots of tears. He's been through a lot of personal traumas as well, this kid. So Tim Geiser then, your FIM MX2 Motocross World Champion 2015. Started off with a 4th in Qatar, and 3 rounds later he was winning at Trentino, his first ever race win and Grand Prix victory. 5 Grand Prix wins in total for the Honda Garibaldi rider, and he wraps it up here in Southern California and the hillside circuit of Glen Helen. Tim Geiser, your world champion in MX2.
Congratulations, double moto victory for you. You made it look easy out there. Any problems?
No problems. First moto, I got off to a 3rd place start and just tried to make it pass quick, and that one I got the whole shot, and I just rode my race. I was calm. I mean, I just raced the pit board. That's all I did. I'd come around 1 lap. I'd see I have a 15-second lap time, and Shane would have a 16, and I just make sure I was a second ahead of him every lap, and towards the end, I just kind of cruised it in, and it was awesome.
Congratulations on the win of a GP.
Thank you.
Your overall winner then this weekend, Jesse Nelson. 2 wins out of 2 on the Troy Lee Designs Lucas Oil Red Bull KTM. Just chasing the lap times, he said. Just racing the pit board, and well, he 2 great starts as well, kept him out of trouble. All the hard work was done through the first couple of corners, and he wins the Monster Energy MX2 GP of the USA here at the first time of asking. Overall confirmation there in the Monster Energy MXGP of the USA in the MX2 division. Jesse Nelson and Shane McElrath, first 2 steps of the podium from the USA. Valentin Guillot 3rd, Tim Geiser, the new world champion, 4th overall today. Zach Osborne, Rockstar Energy, Husqvarna Factory Racing, still with me just for the next few minutes, but we'll see the championship classification in just a moment. We saw the overall classification. We now know that Tim Geiser is world champion in MX2. Pauls Jonas 2nd overall, Max Amsey 3rd, Valentin Guillot 4th, and Jeremy Seewer will be 5th overall, reaching a goal this year that he set for himself on that Rockstar Energy Suzuki. But your thoughts on the Grand Prix this weekend in the MX2 division? There we see the championship classification.
Yeah, congratulations to Geiser. He had a good season and was the strongest. You got to be there you got to be in it to win it. So
but
congratulations to him.
But from an American standpoint, couldn't have been any better, really, could it? 2
No.
Americans on the top step, Jesse and Shane.
Been good, and it's good to see a good turnout of people. There was really no turnout the first couple years, and hopefully just the Americans doing well will bring more people out. I was pumped to get here today about noon and see a lot of people. So I'm happy for that.
Well, look, Zach Osborne, thanks for joining us up here. Good to see you again. It's been a while. You know, good luck with everything the rest of the year, testing and preparation for next year. Hope it all works out for you, and good to see you doing well.
Yes, sir, Paul. Thank you very much.
No problem. Thank you. So in a moment then we will go down to the podium area. Of course, we have a couple of podiums here today. The top 3 from the Grand Prix, and then we'll have the top 3 from the World Championship as well. The top 3 riders will receive their gold, silver and bronze medals, and be interesting to see what the top 3 from the championship say as well. Of course, Tim Geiser, world champion in the FIM MX2 Motocross World Championship. But KTM, though, take the Manufacturers Championship by 24 points over Kawasaki. Yamaha 3rd, Honda.
Well, ladies and gentlemen,
4th. So it wasn't the double for Honda. KTM picking up way more points, and they will walk away again with the Manufacturers Trophy. Podium time here then at the Monster Energy MXGP of the USA. MX2 riders, they've just had their 2nd race and 3rd overall. It's been a tough weekend for him, but a great ride in the first race to get himself into 5th. He was just narrowly pipped by Max Amsey on the final lap, but Valentin Guillot on the standing construct Yamaha Yamalube, 5th in race 1, 3rd in race 2, nets himself 3rd overall at this Glen Helen venue. 2nd overall for the number 70 Shane McElrath on the Troy Lee Designs Lucas Oil Red Bull KTM, and it's his teammate though, Jesse Nelson, with a perfect score here this weekend at the Monster Energy MX2 GP of the USA, who will stand proudly on the top step of the podium, and he barely looked like he broke a sweat here this weekend. So 2 Americans and a Swiss rider on the podium. Of course, Valentin Guillot on the right will be riding for Team Switzerland at the Monster Energy Motocross of Nations in a week's time at France, the circuit of Ernay. Hilton Beattie handing him his 3rd place trophy. And for Valentin Guillot, already a 3-time Grand Prix winner this year, but rounds out with a 3rd place overall. Bud Feldkamp, the Glen Helen Raceway owner, handing the 2nd place trophy to Shane McElrath. But what a day for the Troy Lee Designs Lucas Oil Red Bull KTM team. They came here not knowing what to expect, but both their guys stand on the top 2 steps of the podium. Hilton Beattie, once again, Parts Unlimited Global Motorsport Director, delivering the #1 spot. Trophy to Jesse Nelson.
Award being presented by Bud Feldkamp to Tyler Keefe.
And Tyler Keefe just receiving his manufacturer's trophy on behalf of KTM this weekend. That'll take pride of place down there in the workshops.
The gold plate and the MX2 World Championship going to Tim Geiser.
But Tim Geiser, though, 4th in the final race of the year. 6th in race 1. Tim Geiser, Honda Garibaldi, your FIM MX2 Motocross World Champion. Just finishing off the podium, 4th overall, but he had the red plate coming into this race. That will turn to gold. He's already got it. Tony Skillington, the FIM CMS director, already hand-delivering that to Tim Geiser, who cannot believe it, and it has been a rough road for him.
Ladies and gentlemen, if I have your attention while we play the USA National Anthem.
But National Anthem time for Jesse Nelson and the USA riders here.
Ladies and gentlemen, that is our podium here for the MX2.
Your top 3 this weekend: Jesse Nelson, Shane McElrath, and Valentin Guillot. And the guy on the left there with the gold plate, Tim Geiser, will see him in just a moment, because the top 3 riders of the FIM MX2 Motocross World Championship will take to the top 3 steps of the podium. There'll be an official medal ceremony, but the 2 Americans there, Jesse Nelson and Shane McElrath, the 2 Troy Lee Design Lucas Oil Red Bull KTM riders, celebrate on the podium. Hard day today, boys. Almost 40 degrees, but you guys made it look very, very easy on home soil in front of your home fans. And good job, good work to you guys as well. But Tim Geiser, as we said, just put in 2 solid rides this weekend to nail that FIM MX2 Motocross World Championship. And Tim Geiser, a 5-time winner this year. He was 2nd last time out in Mexico, but he 4th overall this weekend gets him that World Championship. That's one dream come true now for Geiser.
And Amstein. Herb Braun, I need to take it back from you. Herb Braun, if you let me back from you. Now we are going to present the medals. The bronze medal will be
Tim Geiser, Paul Jonas, and Max Anstey, your top 3 in the FIM Motocross World Championship. And Max Anstey, Monster Energy DRT Kawasaki, receives his 3rd place medal, his bronze medal from Tony Skillington. Paul Jonas, well, it was a hard road anyway, made harder by the fact that he crashed out spectacularly last weekend, gave himself a lot of work to do on that Red Bull KTM, but he is a runner-up in the FIM Motocross World Championship in his rookie season. And Tim Geiser, though, FIM MX2 Motocross World Champion for the first time, and it's the first Honda victory since Alessandro Puzar in 1995 when he was 125cc World Champion. So it's a long time overdue for Honda.
Okay. That now does conclude our awards presentation for.
Well, right at the start of the day, or at the race, it was a Fox hole shot. And it was one of the Troy Lee Design Lucas Oil Red Bull KTMs. And it was Jesse Nelson who picks up a black plate. Max Anstey, though, finishes on 6th, picks up €5,000. As the whole shot award winner.
Jesse Nelson and Shane McElrath. Good runs here, certainly for the Americans. Right now we're coming up on the riders that have been dethroned here. Remember, Cooper Webb, Josh Grant were strong factors, but right now, going back to the gate, we're going to get ready to set the stage for this final race, the MXGP. Roman Potter on the Factory Racing Yamaha from France. 25 points.